in a couple of minutes tell us about what you do, about your company, Avetium Consult, so that people who are listening or watching this recording afterwards have an understanding of your perspective really in how contact centers or customer service teams can be managed remotely?
Okay, Adeyinka Adelekun is my name. I run a business called Avetium Consultants. Avetium Consult is a business process outsourcing and a business technology solution organization. Basically, what we do is to help organizations improve their customer experience, also across contacting channels, using technology, through training of the people, through a bit of consulting, and also putting all these things together to make sure they work to achieve the desired results of organization. And then from an experience point of view, I think the profile you posted actually says it all. I tell people that I've managed in a very complex environment before. So that's basically what we do. We are partners to top-notch OEMs across the country, and we sell their solutions. We advise organizations on how they can improve their customer experience. So it's a very great opportunity, and I thank you for this opportunity to come via your platform, talk about customer service.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you as well so much for making out the time from your very extremely busy schedule to share, your thoughts on, for free, because this is something that you build clients millions and billions, hopefully, for. But you're sharing it with us for free, so I appreciate you for that. Right, so I want to ask a very direct question. Now, you basically handle customer contact management for B2Bs largely, and then you also have a B2C perspective to it as well. What have been the questions your clients have asked you in this season of the coronavirus pandemic? What kind of questions have your customers asked you about their customer service teams or their contact center teams?
Yeah, it's an interesting time, deBBie. I must tell you that there's a whole lot of panic. And what I shared with a client of mine yesterday was that the organizations that are going to be standing after this pandemic period are going to be organizations that are able to respond appropriately to the current situation that we are having. No matter how long this pandemic period is going to stay, we will see the light at the end of the tunnel. And one thing that is going to come back is that there are still going to be customers, there are still going to be businesses, and life is going to go back to normal. So the question is that, are you going to allow this short period of time to make you lose all the things that you work for? How do you ensure that you sustain your customers during this period? How do you make sure, without compromising and putting the lives of your customers and your staff in danger, how do you ensure that your customer experience is not in any way hugely negatively affected during this period? And a lot of organizations are coming back to me to say that, you know what, I think we want to suspend these, we want to do this, we want to do that, let's just suspend this. And I'm saying to them that, you guys, you don't need to panic. What you just need to do during this period is to make sure that you move a whole lot of your customer contacts to online channels where you can still be there for customers. A lot of customers are also understanding during this period, and so expectations are going to be managed. But for you not to be there at all for any of your customer, irrespective of the minimum service delivery that you're expected to do, is going to be very disastrous, because don't forget that you're not probably the only one serving these customers currently. So they're probably going to tend towards the one that is there for them during this period. And after this period is over, it's going to be very difficult for them to come back to you. So it's very important. I advise organizations not to panic, but to look at ingenious ways of moving their customer contact arrangement to an online way. And there are so many ways by which it's being done on the online through the voice and the non-voice channels. And this is what I would suggest for a whole lot of organizations.
Yeah, but I think that's really, really strong. I mean, saying that the brands that will differentiate themselves in this season of the corona pandemic are the brands that are quick to respond. Another thing that you have mentioned, which I find very, very interesting, is that customer expectations of brands have adjusted to the times that we're in, right? So recently, one of the large Nigerian-owned retail stores published a process where they were going to take customer orders via different WhatsApp numbers for different, the different regions, and then they had like a process flow, right? And you sing that and you're saying, oh, this is a very cumbersome process. But when you think about it to say, do I have another option? No, I don't. I need to get groceries. I need to get food in the house. So you would, you would pardon those kind of lengthy process. I think that's very, very deep insight. Right. So another thing I would like you to talk about really is, if you don't have an online channel, for example, so we have companies that don't have a multi-channel customer contact point, right? They just deal with typical phone calls or face-to-face well, even aside from phone calls, the face-to-face transactions, those kind of businesses, how do you transition, two questions actually, how do you transition that, customer-facing function to a remote function? And then even as a remote function, the second question is, how do you now monitor what they're doing to make sure, to your first point, they're trying to, making an effort to respond to customers on time?
Yeah, that's a very good question because that's actually what needs to happen during this period. Mm-hmm. And whether we like it or not, it's a change, and we all know the way organizations react, and people generally react to changes. But there's a golden opportunity that organizations should latch on during this period. Which the greatest challenge of change is human beings. But this time around, organizations have the opportunity not to want to force anybody to change because people are changing already naturally. Nobody wants to go to any store to talk to anybody across. Nobody wants to. So that should have been ordinarily a very serious challenge for you to get people to adapt to. So what I will advise organizations to do in this situation is, number one, is that to move your physical channel to an online channel. And when we talk about online channel, we talk about the voice and we talk about the non-voice channel. And the voice channel talks about having a dedicated line where people can call into, and as much as possible, you can resolve their issues, you can attend to their issues. And technology has also moved on to the stage that you can even do this via video. You can do this via email. You can do this via the social media. One thing that is interesting is that during this time, a whole lot of telecommunications organizations are strengthening their network capacity to meet the demand. You can see that, the only reason why you and I'm sitting in Abuja now, I just left Lagos yesterday, you are back, you are in Lagos, and we're able to talk, we're able to still transact. Because one thing that is not going to change is that the service demands of customers may reduce, but it's not going to change. So providing these other channels are the things that we need to do. So you create this other channel through simple, easy to use customer contact technology, and get phone lines that can be mapped so that it can be automated. Another beauty of this is that it gives you visibility to every transaction that you do. It's a secure platform. It gives you the opportunity to have visibility to what people are doing, and people can actually do it from the comfort of their homes. So there's what we call SOHO, SOHO, small office, home office. This is the time for organizations to latch onto it, so that their staff can sit in their comfort of their homes and be able to attend to customer issues without compromising the health status or the issues, the pandemic issues that we have on ground. So this is what organizations should do. And this is something that is very easy to do. I can tell you from my own organization, there are people that have approached us and we're telling them that we can set it up for them between 72 to 96 hours. That's about 3 to 4 days, depending on your need. It can be set up and you can see it functioning. So you can sit from the comfort of your home, and then you can monitor, you can answer calls, you can badge into calls, you can listen to these calls are recorded. And to a large extent, customer experience is still maintained. And one of the great opportunities that I explained to another organization yesterday is that we're getting to a situation whereby you can't afford the infrastructure of your customer support to continue to grow with your customer base, or else you're going to be run out of the business because nobody can actually meet that need. So you can imagine if you have a small call center of 10 seats and your customer base is 100,000. Does it mean that by the time your customer base increases to 500,000, you're going to have about 50? Do you understand? So this is an opportunity for organizations to influence and make sure that they respond appropriately. Customers are going to be willing, they're going to be they'll be willing to understand during this period to be able to attend for their issues to be attended to via all these other channels. So that's one thing that I would suggest to organizations.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned this is a good time for brands to experiment with customer experience, because in their experimenting, it's also seen as them making an effort to want to do things better, right? So if it doesn't work out, customers would crucify you less because you actually are making, I think that's very basic. Now about the Zoho office you mentioned, is it affordable? Is it affordable?
The Soho, which is small office, home office, it's affordable. It's something that it's a cloud solution. It's something that organizations can pay for on a quarterly basis, and then you'll continue to use. What we have done in our own situation is to partner with the major telecommunication organization. We've tried to ring-fence our ecosystem so that we don't allow our customers to interfacing with as many providers as possible. So we bring everything like a turnkey solution. So we interface with you, get your requirements, set you up, and boom, you are live to your customers, and it's a very pocket-friendly. It comes with pocket-friendly prices as well. So that's what is actually good for organizations.
A typical businessman will ask you, like, what's the cost? Because one thing now is you have businesses who have employees working remotely, right? These employees need to be paid salaries. I'm aware that there's a company, one of the investment banks in Lagos at the moment, they're getting laptops for more than half the workforce so that they can work remotely. They've been giving them allowances for alternative power supply. They're getting allowances for unlimited data plans, right? It's a lot of unexpected, unbudgeted costs. And the thing is, you're not going to add another cost for the solution. That's why I was asking, what the pricing is like. Is it pocket friendly considering? Or do you have anything up your sleeves? You have like discounted offers, you have free offers that they can latch on to. A lot of the brands today are offering one freebie or the other, right? So what are you doing to help business in that space in this season?
Yeah. So from our own perspective, I mean, also taking into consideration the time that we found ourselves, that a lot of organizations have not prepared and planned for, we are willing as much as possible to take a deep 25% off our normal prices that we would have offered organizations to make sure that we meet their needs during this period. Just like I said, the reason why I might not be able to be specific in terms of price at this point in time is because volume is also a function of a price. So somebody called me 2 days ago wanting to set up 50 seats in order to curb the people that they're trying to trace people that are contacted Ebola and stuff like that. Somebody from a state government called me yesterday that how quickly can we set up an outbound in one of the northern states and everything. So these are things that are driven by when you want to set up 5 versus when you want to set up 50. But one thing that is standard that, we are offering huge discounts. The minimum discounts we are offering is about 25%. If organizations come with higher than that, we are willing to have further discussion. One thing that it's a brand value for us is that we never allow price to be a stumbling block between us and our customers or prospecting customers, especially delivering value to them. We look at the long-term relationship. We look forward to starting relationship with customers. So price is never going to be an issue, trust me on that. And we will be able to work something out to make sure that you remain available for your customers during this period.
Awesome. So basically, the need determines the price. But bottom line is that it's affordable, right? Okay. So right. So I
Absolutely.
guess we're
Absolutely.
almost there. If we're going to get a few tips. So I guess a few questions that have been thrown at me that I've heard, or I spend a lot of time online these days trying to catch up on what the customer experience needs are. So if you could share, a couple of tips on how people can. The key thing is, yes, you have set up the contact center. You've
I
stated
think
that.
my network is I think network
How,
is fluctuating.
right. Okay. Can you hear me now? Is it better now? Can you hear me now? Okay, better now. All
Sorry, I
right,
think my
cool.
network.
All right, cool. So how it's one thing to set up the center, right? And the people are working remotely. It's another thing to manage. How do you manage a contact center or a customer, in this case, a customer support team remotely to make sure they deliver on the right experience? How do you do that?
Yeah, I think that's an area of strength from our own application. So ability for you to manage and see what is done remotely is something that is very available for our solution. And so you are able, number one is that you're able to record every conversation that you have with between the customers and also the agent that is talking to the customer. That's number one. Number two is that you are able to badge into the calls, you are able to whisper to the agent, you are able also to talk to as many people as possible, you understand, to make sure that you listen to it. Number three is the fact that for everything that happens on the system, they are recorded. There's a huge dashboard and analytics that you can see, that you can trend. And the beauty of it is that this report can be scheduled in such a way that they get sent to you automatically. So from wherever you are, as long as you have access to internet, you can see what is happening real time, and you can also see it after it has been done, it has been concluded as well. So managing people from remotely is very, very easy. And that's why I'm saying that organizations need to start thinking along this line. You see that even after the transition pandemic period, a lot of them are able to sustain that, because the truth is that after this thing that is happening to the whole world, life is never going to remain the same. That's the truth. Life is never going to remain the same. A lot of organizations are going to start looking at it and so why have I been doing this all along? It's a new order. And I keep saying it, that organizations need to position themselves in readiness for the new order that is coming, or else people must move their chips.
Yeah,
it's very important.
Thank you for sharing that. So, if all that data is stored remotely, then it makes that easy to actually train. Because one of the key things for the contact center personnel is that continuous training to sustain the quality. So those training sessions can still happen remotely as well.
Absolutely. Training session can happen remotely. Training session can happen while you are even with the customer. Training session can also happen even with the recorded conversation. And that's why you realize that when you listen to standardized call center all over the world, they try to put a disclaimer that part of the, please know that these calls will be recorded for training and evaluation purpose. So that's one thing that it also brings to the fore. So it gives you the opportunity to be able to do this remotely. We've got to move to the new order of working remotely. That's just the truth.
Yeah. I'm learning that very quickly too. Right. Okay. So to wrap this up, I don't know. So we have, you've talked about one scenario. So I'll have one question before I go to my final question. This solution you talk about now, does it integrate with social media, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, email, and all of that? It integrates seamlessly?
Yes, it does. Okay. The truth is that any application that fails to be able to have that kind of integration with all this social media and the email and all those other things, it's obviously not a standardized application again, because the truth is that, that is where people are living their lives now. So you need to take customer experience to where they are living their life, which is in the social media space.
Yeah.
And so our application has even what we call pre-integration capability with all the known social media, so that it makes it easy for you. So when we tell you that we can come up within 96 hours, it's because we have pre-integration. We've actually looked at the customer's needs and we've actually made life simple for them. So it's got the ability to have the integration. And even if organizations have their own mobile application, it's got the ability to also integrate with those mobile applications. It's got the ability to integrate with your core application, so with your customer relationship management application also, even though it comes with its own CRM application as well. Yeah, so we are looking at a customer management solution, not just a customer contact alone or a customer relationship alone. A total customer management solution that manages your voice and the non-voice channel, and also other key things that you do with your customer.
Yeah, and so in terms of integration, let me use a financial institution for example, where they already have applications and systems that hold customer data, right? I want to believe that this solution can integrate with that as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what it does for you in that situation is that it helps the interaction that the agents are going to have with the customer. Yeah. Because I mean, one question that customers really don't like is that when you call them and you ask them what is their name, and they're looking like, I filled 1001 forms when I was joining you. You have my mother's maiden name, and yet you're asking me for my name. So, so this is one thing that our solution is able to do. Is able to integrate with your core application. It could be a banking application. It could be an insurance application. It could be any form of application. We have HMOs that have enrollee application. So, one thing that calms a lot of customer down is that the moment I'm talking to you, I should be telling you, "Good afternoon, deBBie. How may I help you today?" I should be able to tell you that the last time you called, I should be able to, don't give me the impression, because it kind of frustrates me. It kind of makes me feel that you don't care about me. And if I've been on the edge before, you're just pushing me off the cliff there. You understand? So, but when I hear my name from your mouth, it calms me down. I have a sense of belonging. It kind of makes me feel that, okay, you've got my back. Then it comes down. So our application is able to do that. We also have a CRM application that is able to do that. So you have a seamless interaction with your customer.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Right. So I would like you to leave our conversation with, because the people who would watch this replay, and to be honest, especially for SMEs, they do not have the capability to take on any additional costs. They want to just work with what they have, right? So what will be your quick tips on how to work remotely with the contact center? Yes, I get the part about having a solution that would enable that. But if we're looking at very quick things before you now look at, getting that solution, what are the very little things that you can do, 2-3 things you can do to put the team together, structure the team together, and then let them work?
Yeah, I think one thing that is very important is that communication is very key. Communication is very key. You've got to make sure that you have your communication plan, your communication strategy. How many organizations during this period have taken time to communicate with their customers, to say that don't assume that your customer knows what is going on. That assumption is a very dangerous thing to do in this situation. So communicate with your customer first. Number 2 is that in that communication plan, you must also create an alternative for them. So it's one thing for you to tell me as a customer that this is the sign of time. COVID-19 is ravaging the country. The government is coming up with all sorts of things. There's so much uncertainty. While we're advising you to stay safe, however, we are still available for you through XYZ channels. Don't leave customers in the limbo. Don't let them feel that you just want to hang them out and dry on their own. Don't let them think that you are using COVID-19 as an excuse for you not to deliver, because they are your customer. COVID-19 has come, it's going to go, whether we like it or not. And then the customers are still going to be there. So think about what you're going to do to sustain this customer. Number 2 is the fact that you've got to also do internal sensitization. Make sure you engage your internal team. and let them understand the sign of time. Let them understand the reason why they need to be there. You understand? Number 3 is the fact that you need to create an incident plan and incident management plan. You need to create, a lot of things are going to come out of this period. And I keep saying it, organizations that are able to go back and evaluate what they've done during this period are going to be the organizations that are going to be able to take advantage. Trust me, deBBie, a whole lot of things, insights are going to come out of this period. You're going to see how you can influence customers to start behaving new way. You're going to see a whole lot of ideas, products and services are going to come out of this period. Trust me. And it's only organizations that position themselves to make sure that they stay in touch with their customers, they are there for their customers, are going to be people. So when you have this internal sensitization with your client, with your internal customers, which are your staff, then you make sure that you create an avenue for everybody to be able to throw in their experiences during this period. Because these experiences, a lot of intelligence are going to come out of it to shape the new way, to shape the change of processes, to change the way of policies, and also be able to be ready. And then technology is an enabler. That's what I tell people. A whole lot of these things, if you have them riding on technology, then you are able to bring in efficiency, you are able to bring in effectiveness as well. So these are things that I'm going to tell organizations to do. And we are there, we are ready to offer consulting services as free of charge, even if you feel that you don't want to take our technology for now, but we will be able to advise you on what you think you need to do during this period. That's what I would say.
Right, that's great. So that's great. I mean, we have talked about this offline, about offering some free, consultation support to companies. So where can they reach your company? Where can they reach Avetium Consults? How do they call you to just ask questions and you provide the consultation? What email, telephone number? I will probably have this at the bottom of the post when I put up the video, but just share whatever information you want if they want to reach you for consultation on how to move this forward.
Okay, so our website is www.avetiumconsults.com, and then you can also send email to us at info@avetiumconsult.com. You can also reach me personally through my phone number 0803 200 3131. I repeat, 0803 200 3131. We will be available during this period. My Skype ID is Adeyinka Pepe it's just Adeyinka Pepe. So that's my Skype ID as well. So we will be available at any point in time during this period to make sure that we provide the necessary support for both existing and prospecting customers.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Yinka, for a very insightful conversation. I couldn't help but notice how you called out your number twice. Like, okay, he's the guru.
That's how you know a customer service person.
How you know,
that's why
right?
I say that customer service is in my blood. Never assume the customer gets it the first time.
Yes. Thank you so much. And my love to your family in Abuja. Take good care of them. Stay indoors.
Thank you very much. My regards to your family as well. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.